Hello everyone, and welcome to the September webinar from Silwood Technology Limited. This one is on comparing ERP and CRM data models. What we're going to do this afternoon is to talk briefly about the circumstances that might lead to the need for comparing the instances of the same ERP or ERP system. Why it can be difficult, and then we'll talk about how Safyr can help and make that an easier process. Then we'll get on to showing you the software, and then finally talk about some of the benefits of the Safyr approach and some options for you for going on to the next steps if you'd like to learn a little bit more. Before we go into detail about the comparison side itself, I just thought it would be useful to talk a little bit about the context and the market in which Silwood operates. So we work with customers and a large and growing partner community of software vendors, systems integrators, all of whom are engaged in the SAP market or the Oracle, Salesforce, Microsoft market. So we work with customers and partners who either have or are involved in implementing, maintaining, selling solutions in those software vendor areas, as it were. There are other vendors that we can support, and we'll talk about that a bit later, but these are the key ones that we deal with most of the time. So why compare? Why do we need to compare different instances of the same ERP package? I've got some typical use cases, some ideas here as to where that is valuable and what and why. So first of all, in many customers that we know of and have worked with have multiple versions of a particular package. So for example, one of our customers we know has over 30 different instances of SAP ERP solution. We've recently worked with a customer who has over 50 instances of Salesforce across their organization. And these are challenges when you are doing various different data projects. For example, if you're trying to produce an enterprise data warehouse with data that's coming from a number of different instances of the same package, it's highly likely that those packages have not been implemented in exactly the same way. It may even be that those packages are on different versions of the software from the vendor themselves. To make sure that your data warehouse is storing the right information, or your data lake is receiving the right information, and that information is being put in the right place so that your analytics people, your business professionals can find that information easily and know that they can trust that information. It's important to be able to know where the differences are in the data model between those instances of that package. Similarly, in development cycles, we've noticed particularly with Salesforce, that there are often developments in Salesforce are often built using agile sprint methodologies, and it's important to be able to keep step with the data model changes at each stage. So being able to compare different instances as the development moves forward is important. And we've also worked with organizations who have been trying to keep a data warehouse or a relational database instance in step with the Salesforce data model as it moves forward. And obviously, as that changes from time to time, or from month to month, whatever it might be, it becomes increasingly difficult to do that as that model grows in size and grows in complexity. And what we've found is that while Salesforce is at its heart quite a small data model with probably a couple of hundred tables, not many more than that, as organizations grow, develop their own systems, purchase applications from the App Exchange. So that model grows and grows, and we've worked with organizations whose Salesforce model footprint is over 3,000 tables now, which is significant if you're needing to find where the differences are. And the interesting thing, of course, is that even quite minor, what you might think of as insignificant differences in naming conventions or tables can mean a significant difference when that data is used in reporting, or that data is used in data governance or master data or metadata repository solutions. So it needs to, in terms of understanding variances, it's critical that organizations can find those variances quickly and understand them for these types of applications. We often work as well, or we find that customers are merging or acquiring other companies, and very often one of the benefits of those acquisitions, those mergers, is that there will be a reduction in cost and overhead and a streamlining of IT and integration because those companies may have the same ERP package. You may find two companies merging who have SAP or Oracle JD Edwards or something like that. However, it's still a challenge because it's highly unlikely that an SAP system or a JD Edwards system will be implemented completely standard format, particularly with the data model, and you'll find that each of those implementations will have differences. So reporting, merging data, migrating data will be a challenge. Integrating processes, integrating data between those organizations will also be a challenge because of those differences. It's also likely that managing data governance, managing master data scenarios will also be a challenge, even if, as I said earlier, even if those implementations, even if those systems are from the same vendor. And of course, it may be that those organizations who are merging or being acquired have multiple instances of those ERP and CRM packages, and so the problem again is compounded from when you consider what I was talking about on the previous slide. We also work with software vendors and systems integrators, and an example of where being able to compare the CRM system, for example, would be an organization whose application is based on the Force platform, the Salesforce platform, and who sell their system to a number of customers, and then those customers may make their own changes. So when their support team need to understand how the customer has changed their own system to provide hotline support, telephone support, it's important for them to be able to understand the differences between the customer system as implemented and the system that they have in-house. And of course, then the vendor developer will make new versions, they'll build new versions of their application. And again, it's important to be able to approach, to see how those new systems, how the upgrade systems are reflected, and how those the changes the customers made are reflected in the new system. Some information management vendors may have template approaches to help them understand, to help them deliver master data, data integration solutions, and of course then they may want to be able to compare how their template solution looks versus what's actually implemented at the customer site. So there's a number of reasons why software vendors, systems integrators would be looking, will be needing to be able to compare instances of CRM, ERP applications to enable them to support their clients more effectively. And finally, there are application package initiatives, what I've called for consolidation, application rationalization. It may be that an organization is looking to consolidate, say, a number of instances of a package that they've acquired or had built over the years. In fact, we have a customer that we worked with a few years ago now who had 8 different instances of JD Edwards, all of which have been implemented by different systems integrators, so there was no standardization across data model changes, there was no standardization in documentation, and one of the challenges they had was to be able to compare those different systems with each other and then to compare them with the 2B systems, and of course trying to do that manually, trying to do that quickly to enable the project to be delivered proved to be a significant challenge. So there's a number of opportunities there where in application package initiatives the ability to compare different versions of the same system where that's critical for the success of the project. And of course, if it's not done effectively or quickly enough, then this can lead to other issues. And what we find is, with our experience with our customers, is that this type of work, this being able to compare systems in order to deliver particular project initiatives, often takes a great deal longer, and those delays are often down to data issues. And as a result, the internal and potentially the external cost can be much higher due to the extended engagement and need for staff to be used on those projects, doing work manually that potentially could be done or that could be automated. And of course, unless where there's potential for inaccurate data, without the clarity of the data models, without the clarity of the differences between the data models, there's a risk in terms of the wrong data being put in the wrong place or the wrong data being introduced into the information ecosystem. And a lot of that problem, is actually down to the nature of these large ERP and CRM systems from SAP, Oracle, increasingly Salesforce, and Microsoft. The usable data model, so that the usable information-rich metadata is often hidden. It's not actually held in the system catalog. So there's no easy way of finding out what the business descriptions of tables are or fields are. There's very little information about relationships between those tables. So just having the basic data model available is very difficult, and that is normally hidden away. That problem wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the large number of tables involved. For example, SAP will start with a minimum of 90,000 tables and sort of go up from there. Oracle e-Business Suite system will probably be about 20 or 30,000 tables again and go up from there. And these are large, complex systems, obviously, because they're dealing with large, complex business processes. And then that again is compounded because of the level of customization that is often visited upon these systems in order to make them meet individual companies' and customers' demands. We know of an organization in the UK, RS Components, whose SAP system has grown to be over 117,000 tables. Clearly, a good number of those are custom tables, so they won't be in the initial documentation, even if there was any. Further, there's no tools available for this. The package vendors themselves provide very little in the way of tools for data professionals rather than application specialists, but data professionals who might be involved in a data migration or a data warehouse project or a master data project, for example, to be able to access and find that that usable data model, which is hidden away. And most of the time, the information management vendors, so the people who provide ETL, master data, data integration tools, don't provide anything that will allow their customers to really search and access and search and navigate the data models of those packages. They might provide solutions based around templates or reference models or documentation, none of which really are effective when you're dealing with those large numbers of tables, that large amount of customization, and the fact that those data models are hidden in the first place. So it is a significant issue to try to find the data model and then make use of it, largely because there are no tools available outside of Safyr. And Sapphire's goal, if you will, is to make package metadata easy to access and easy to use for data professionals. The goal of the product, the reason that we built it, was to enable customers who have spent a lot of money, invested a lot of money and time in ERP and CRM packages, to be able to make use of the data model in order to accelerate projects and the benefits that accrue from those projects, and to reduce the cost of source data discovery. So reduce the cost of that part of a project which relies on someone's being able to answer the question, where's the data? And of course, if you're enabling customers to have access to the data model as implemented in their own organization, not a reference model, but being able to see how the data model has actually been implemented, including all the changes within their own organization, then you're going to improve data accuracy by enabling them to work with the implementation as customized, as put together, rather than trying to rely on a template or a reference model and then trying to figure out what the differences are. So when we talk about Safyr, we talk about 3 steps, really: discover, scope, and deliver. Well, the discover stage is the connectivity to wherever the metadata resides in the applications you see down on the left of the screen there. For example, in SAP and Oracle, those are in specific data dictionary tables. So we extract the metadata from those tables and bring it into Safyr, where data professionals, application specialists as well, but often data professionals can navigate, have access to that data model to navigate and search, filter, scope down to find the tables that are relevant to what they're doing at the time, and then to visualize that information. We also provide the facility to compare whole or partial data models, and I'll go into that in a bit more detail in a moment. You also see on the left there's a down at the bottom, it says other packaged applications, and we have a product and services capability to allow other packages, to allow the metadata from other packages to be brought into Safyr and to give the users, the data professionals, the ability to navigate and scope the metadata from those packages as well. If you want more information about that, just drop us an email. You'll see the contact details at the end of the presentation. And then we talk about deliver. So we talk about delivery in 2 ways, really. First of all, we're delivering cost and time saving and additional productivity to organizations who are engaged in any sort of data project. So big data, analytics, data integration, migration, data governance, etc. And just as an example, one of our customers, Hydro Tasmania, suggested that Safyr gave them the ability for another 3/4 of a full-time employee on their particular project, and also gave them over 99% productivity gain in doing the sort of searching and analysis work that they were needing to do. Another customer of ours reflected with us on the fact that before Safyr, finding the tables associated with a particular transaction in their SAP system would have previously taken 3 people about a month to find and know that they were working with the right tables. and post Safphire it would take one person just a couple of days or a few days to be able to do that. So again, that's a 90% plus productivity gain. And of course, their customers, their own internal business people, are much more confident and have much better trust in the quality of the data that they're being delivered. So that's partly the part of the deliver side for Safphire. The next area that we deliver is Safphire doesn't live in a vacuum as a product. The results in terms of visualizations, in terms of subset data models, in terms of comparison information can be shared with data modeling tools, can be shared with data integration tools, can be shared with metadata repository tools, and used with information management solutions. So for example, a Safphire subset model could be exported out to ER Studio or to Irwin, and then imported into a Power Center environment in Informatica to enable Power Center ETL delivery, for example. A Safphire model could be exported out to Power Designer to then be exported and to be used as the basis for delivery of a business objects universe. So Safphire works to communicate with other products and improve communication between teams in customers. So just some compare options here, just looking at why we might use the compare facility, keeping a history of application versions, very much as I talked about the sort of rapid development, rapid implementation of Salesforce, being able to reuse subject areas across different versions of an ERP or CRM solution, and to help with integration on third-party tools. And some of the features of what we can deliver in terms of comparison between different systems, and Nick, my colleague, is going to talk through these and show them to you in just a few moments. You have the ability to compare a partial or a whole model. The results are extremely quick. It's very, very fast, as you'll see, to pull those models together and to compare them and to see the results. You can then share the results out through spreadsheets or whatever. You have control over what it is you compare. So if you only want to compare particular elements, you're able to do that. The most recent version of the product that you're going to see, we've made it much easier to identify the discrepancies by having color coding of where the variances are, and it works exactly the same for all of the supported applications. So it doesn't matter, as long as you're comparing SAP with SAP or JD Edwards with JD Edwards or Salesforce with Salesforce, it will work. It works exactly the same way. Obviously, there's very little point in data model terms in trying to compare, say, eBusiness Suite from Oracle with a Salesforce data model. You're comparing apples with potatoes. It's not going to be of any value to you. So I'm just going to hand over to Nick now, who's going to take you through the product, and then I'll come back towards the end of the session and talk through the last couple of slides. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Roland. I'm just going to switch across into looking at the product now. This is the main interface to Safphire. And I'm sure some of you will be familiar with the functions of the product, but I'm just going to give you a real 5-minute taste of how the product works. And we're going to just quickly look at an SAP system, an ECC6 system. We've got a number of features for exploring the metadata that we've extracted from the system. And I do tend to start with this one. It's probably the simplest way of looking at the metadata we have. And this gives us a list of all the tables that have been extracted from the SAP system. So each row in this list is a table, represents a base table from the SAP system. And if you look at the total there at the end, there are in excess of 98,000 base tables in this particular system. So part of the challenge, as Roland was explaining, is how can you bring that down into manageable groups, and that grouping is something we call a subject area. So a subject area is like a Venn diagram. It's a subset of that set of tables. So I'm just going to give you a little taste of how you can go about doing that. So let's do a search for any table that's got customer master in its description. So we do that, and it brings us back a list of 58 tables that have got the string customer master somewhere in their description. Now, one of the features of the product is we pull a row count. So you see in that last column there, it says row count. That's the amount of data in each table. And what I'm going to do is just switch on this option to say I want to have at least one row in the table. And that now brings us down in our system to 37 tables that have actually got data in them, and I have the string customer master somewhere in their description. And I can see a group of tables, this one, general data in customer master, and some other customer master tables, things like bank details and sales data. And what I want to do now is I want to take that and make a little subset of that. And so I'm going to do one of these subject areas, create one of these subject areas we talked about. We actually deliver a whole set of pre-built subject areas with the product. And you can see some of these listed here. So there's things like accounts payable and receivable and billing and claims management. There's for an SAP system, there's about 100 of these tables. And I'm going to make my own, or I'm actually going to reuse one. This one I use here called demo. So I'm going to take that set of customer master related tables, and I'm going to add those to that subject area. I've made my own subject area. And one of the things that we can do with that subject area now is that the deliver part that Roland described, we can take the subject area and we can export that into a range of different formats. So there's a set of modeling tools there you may be familiar with. We're going to look at this comparison file in a minute, which is the main topic of the presentation. But I'm going to first of all put it into this thing here, the ER diagrammer, and that's a built-in diagramming capability within the Safyr product itself. And it's a very simple data model, just purely a graphical representation of the set of tables. And you can see there we've built a model, and this actually is showing the model at the primary and foreign key level. So it's filtering out any of the non-primary and foreign keys. I could switch on all attributes, and you see I'd have to do a layout on this to make it look a bit better. I do quite like this primary and foreign key because it gives you the sort of essence of really of what the model's all about. And you can also see we're showing both the technical name for objects in SAP and also the descriptive name as well. Now I'm using SAP here as an example, but we could do exactly the same kind of thing with any of the other packages that we address, things like Soft or Salesforce. So that gives you a little flavor of subsetting the tables, putting it into this concept of a subject area. There are lots of other features in the product for making subject areas, features to help you to arrive at a subject area. I'm not really going to cover those today. What I do want to do is now think about comparisons. And I exported that subject area into the ER diagrammer, and you can see here there is a comparison file format, a comparison file option. So the idea here is that you take the set of tables and you export them into this comparison file. And if you do that for two different systems, then you can compare those two files and see the differences. And that's what I'm going to show you some examples of in a minute. And Roland really pretty much covered, you know, why you might want to do that and the various scenarios for doing that. I just really want to show you how it works. So I've actually built some comparison files prior to this, and so we're going to start off and look at some of these examples that I've already built. And the first one that we're going to do is actually based upon a Salesforce system. So I'm going to take these two comparison files that I've already created from slightly different versions of Salesforce. So I choose the two comparison files, and then I've got these options here where I checkboxes where I choose the level of granularity that I want to compare. So for example, you can see here there is an option checked on log missing entity. So what that means is if there is an entity or a table, if you like, that's in one of those comparison files but not the other, then I should identify that. I should pick out the fact that there are entities in one system and not the other. If I checked it off, it would only compare common entities. It would only compare objects that were in both comparison files. Similar sort of thing for attributes down here. And you'll see also that I've got logical name checked on. So that what that means is it will notify me where there are differences in the descriptive name of the object. There are things like the data type, the ERP, the package data typing. I've got that checked on. There are a whole other set of functions like, do I want to see differences in primary keys and foreign keys and indexes and relationships? I've got most of those checked off at the moment. So I choose the options I want, I press the start, and I then get the result. So it's comparing the two files in these two columns. So you've got Model A, which was the first Salesforce system I chose. Model B is the subject area from the second one that I chose. I'm just going to expand these so you can see the full text. And in these particular two models, there isn't a lot of differences. They are quite small models. The name of the object is identified in this first column. The value is in this Model A column. The second system is in Model B, and then over here there's a little bit of hint as to what the difference is. And one important thing to understand, we only show differences. You know, if objects are identical, we don't include them in the comparison at all. So that first node at the top shows us information about the two comparison files. I can minimize that. And now we're going into the actual differences. So there is a table in Salesforce called organization, and that's got an attribute called sign up country ISO code, And that attribute exists in the first model, but it doesn't exist at all in the second model. And then there's a table called permission set. That's got an attribute called permission chatter file link. And its descriptive name, the label, if you like, is different, slightly different. So it's create and share content deliveries for Salesforce files on the first system, and it's this name on the second system. So the color coding, the green is information, the red shows that it's missing in one of the systems, and the kind of yellowy color shows that there is the object is common, but it's different. It's got a different property. So that's a very, very simple version of it. Let's go back and I'll choose something slightly different. I'm going to choose a J.D. Edwards system. These are different versions of a J.D. Edwards system. The J.D. Edwards 9 and J.D. Edwards 9.1. And we do the same kind of thing, and you can see here this is bigger. There's more differences in this one. So straight off you can see at the top there's a bunch of tables that exist in Model A but don't exist in Model B, and then the converse of that, there's a set of tables, these ones here, that don't exist in Model A and are present in Model B. And then I've got some differences down here. We've got some labeling differences, and then here we've got not only a labeling difference, but there is also a data type change from version 9 to version 9.1. Now with any of these comparisons, what I can also do, if I choose this option at the bottom here, I could push this out into CSV and then bring the data into something like Excel, Microsoft Excel, and we could do some more work in Microsoft Excel, all the good things that you can do with Excel. So the last one I want to do is to show you that Safyr can cope with entire systems. So far I've been showing you subsets, but here I've got two entire SAP systems, slightly different versions of an ECC6 system. And I'm actually going to load these in now. So I've got version 1 and version 2 files, and just bear in mind that these are very big. They represent in excess of 90,000 tables in each system, 500,000 attributes in each system. They are big files, and you can just see it's assembling the objects at the bottom there. So it's having to do quite a lot of work to do this comparison, but it really is practical to compare two entire systems. And as you might expect, there are a lot of differences between them. And of course, when you've got this volume of metadata, just scrolling through it is not really that practical. And you may have noticed we've got this search feature at the top here. So I could do something like look for KNA1, which is a sort of fairly famous table within the SAP system. It picks that out, and then I can start to look at the differences in the two systems. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. And what I'm going to do now is just pass back to Roland to wrap up. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Nick. And just got a couple of slides to finish off. I hope you found that useful, and you might just like to consider how you could possibly even attempt to approach doing that using manual or traditional methods. That ability to search through ERP solutions so quickly, create those subset models, and then compare them. It's not a simple task, and yet Safyr makes it look and actually does make it much easier, quicker, and simpler for you to achieve that. And in terms of what it gives you, I guess, is Safyr puts your staff in control of how you go about finding that metadata, accessing it, and then utilizing it in whichever way was appropriate, including being able to compare those systems. It also gives you the ability to manage the cost of doing that, and in a lot of cases to reduce the cost associated with this source data discovery and metadata analysis, whatever you want to call it. Safyr itself is a very quickly implemented product, so it doesn't take weeks and weeks, and there's virtually no configuration to do other than to connect to a database and obviously then to connect to the source systems. So it enables you to do that, and enables you to implement your own projects more quickly and to gain the benefits from that. And as I said earlier, and hopefully you've noticed and you'll see through the demonstration, that you're able to work with a much greater degree of confidence in the accuracy of what you're working with, because you're working with the data model, the metadata as implemented in your own systems. So what you might be considered thinking, what could I do next? Well, if you have any questions, in a moment you'll see some email addresses from us. These slides will be made available, so you can pick up the email addresses from that. But do send us an email or go onto the website. There is a contact button on the website, and you can ask a question there. We'd be more than happy to host a workshop to go into your own requirements in a bit more detail, show you Safyr working in a bit more detail, and talk about your requirements, and show you the software perhaps, or you can download an evaluation copy from the website. It's free, and it comes with complete sets of application metadata based on our own development environments. So it obviously won't reflect your own customizations, but it's a good way to get started to evaluate how easy it is to navigate and use the product. All of those options are available. If you go to silwoodtechnology.com, go to the top right-hand part of the website, and you'll see the ability to book a call or a demo, to contact us, and to download a copy of the software. So finally, I'd just like to say thank you very much for your time and patience, and I hope this session was of interest to you. Please do contact us if we can be of any further assistance. This recording will be made available to you all, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.